In this session, we talk about the second part of the case, kiwi computers. This is a formulation from question 3, if you still remember. So these are the solutions from the model without outsourcing. So you can see if we choose a round down, these are the optimal solution. When you try to solve the LP model, you can at the same time, you can also generate the sensitivity report from Excel solver. So just remember to check the sensitivity report you want. So this is a sensitivity report for the LP model without outsourcing. So from this sensitivity report, we try to answer following questions in this case. So the question 6 is the optimal production mix unique? So this actually should be determined by the decision variables allowable increase or allowable decrease cells. So since there are no zeros under the allowable increase and decrease columns for the decision variables, so the solution actually is unique. So now let's see the question 7. So suppose a redesign of the desktop will actually reduce the direct material cost by $200. So ask you if the optimal production plan will change, if the objective function will change. So the first step is to understand what happened here. So the cost actually reduced by $200. That means your contribution margin for desktop actually increase $200. Now you become $775. And then if you want to answer this first question, look into the objective function coefficients, and you find the allowable increase is 615. So 200 is less than 615. So optimal solution will not change. So next step, let's say if the objective function value will change. So now you still have the optimal solution, xd equals to 1286.5 units if we round down, and xp equals to 1428 units, and then the zeta should be 775 times 595 times. So the delta, so the total contribution margin will increase by 200 times dollars. It's about $700. So your objective function will increase by this quantity. So that's how you answer this question. So question 8, assume that an increased workload on the assembly of desktops make it possible to assemble 2,000 instead of the limit of 1,800 currently. How much will the objective function increase or decrease? For this question, we can clearly see the right-hand side of the board staffing constraint actually increased by 200 units. So we find this constraint row in your sensitivity report in the constraint part. And you can see for this constraint, the shadow price equals to 0. So that means even if you increase your capacity, so the constraint is not bending. So your objective value will not change. So that's how you answer this question. So original constraint for board staffing actually is xd plus 1.2 xp less than 3000. So the information given here, you can see, so the extra capacity, so you can add extra capacity, so you can either add 600 additional desktops or 500 additional portable boards. So in that sense, if you use all these units to produce XD, then you actually need 600 additional. So XP equals to 0, then your XD should equals to 600. So that's actually equals to the capacity of 600 units. So you just modify these constraints into less than 3,600 units. So now we can see you have a right-hand set of board staffing increase, 600 units. Now let's see the sensitivity report and to try to answer this question. Now the constraints become x. So try to write it down. xd plus 1.2 xp less than or equals to 3000. So that means actually the right hand side actually increase 600 units, which is actually greater than, so I should just write greater than 400, which is here. So that's how you get 400. So that means the shadow price will change. In this case, we actually try to actually take the 400 units as a change. So if increase 400 units capacity in board staffing, then the objective function will change for, so the shadow price, so here you find the shadow price times the change 400 units. So this actually is approximately I'm not sure this exact number, but this value actually greater than, so I just try to write the final result. This value actually greater than 175,000. So that means even if you increase 400 units capacity, you actually can cover the cost to pay for extra capacity. So that means you should actually invest on the more capacity. So should invest on the new capacity. So in next page, you can see the detailed calculation and the description about how to answer this question. So now we try to summarize the answers. So in that case, we can answer the question in two options. One is to resolve the LP model by change the capacity constraint to 3,600 units, and then you can get how much extra objective value or contribution margin you can gain from this increase. So if you do not want to resolve the model, you can try to take 400 as a option and do a calculation. So actually can also increase increase the objective function to cover the costs. So the rest of the questions will be based on the formulation with outsourcing. So we just review this formulation. So this are the formulation including the outsourcing decision variables. So this is a solution for the model with outsourcing. So this is a sensitivity report from the new modified model with outsourcing. So now you can see you get different sensitivity report values. So now question 10 is the optimal production mix unique? So the answer is yes, because for the standard you can make a judgment is in the allowable increase and decrease for the decision variables coefficients. So now you can see there is no zero in allowable increase or decrease. So unique. Of course, they say they should have also no the solution should not be degenerating. Now you can see here no zero either. So not this is not degenerated solution. So question 11 asks, what is the maximum price we are willing to pay the subcontractor staffing desk board? So you have to make sure you know we're talking about staffing desktop board. So that means we're talking about the decision variable XOD. So the final value for this decision variable is 0. So that means now the price is too high. You won't actually buy any products from the subcontractor. And here the reduced cost actually tells how much the subcontractor's price too high. In that sense, if you reduce the price paid to the subcontractor, you actually possible to buy products from this subcontractor or to actually get the lower price from the subcontractor. In that case, we actually see if we use P0 for desktop, and this price is 110. If you still remember this price from subcontractor, and now the reduced cost actually is minus 1.7. If we could reduce the cost, so reduced cost means that you need to actually increase your increase your objective coefficient so that you can actually buy more. So now you can see your objective function unit contribution margin for the desktop outsourced computers is 565. That means this is too low to produce or to buy. So you need to actually increase this value. So we need to increase this value to plus 1.67. So that also means you need to actually reduce the cost. So this extra 1.67 should from your price paid to your subcontractor. So you should actually maximum to pay to the subcontractor 110 minus 1.67. So it's approximately 108.37. So the question 12 is, what is the maximum price we are willing to pay the subcontractor staffing portable boards under the assumption that we want to keep the current production plan. So here we are talking about the staffing portables. So previously we talked about reduced cost, we actually talking about staffing desktop board. There's different items. So in this question, we should actually look into the decision variable XOP's objective coefficient. So in this question, a little bit tricky because they are asking about the price the maximum price you can pay to the subcontractor. So you still have the current production plan, which means you still have a positive optimal purchase quantities from subcontractor 333. So if you remember the contribution margin for the portable products, outsourced product boss is 585, and you also know the price you pay to the, if we just use a PO to show the price you pay to the subcontractor, which is 100. So if you check the allowable decrease and allowable increase, so if you would like to pay, the question is asking you if you would like to pay more to the subcontractor, more than 100, and then you still keep the current production plan. You want to change your orders from the subcontractor. So we should actually focus on the allowable decrease. Then the allowable decrease for XOP is 2. So that means you could actually reduce your contribution margin. So if you reduce the contribution margin to 583, so you still keep the current production plan, but if you reduce the contribution margin, that means you pay more to the subcontractor. So now you can actually move this $2 or 2 kroners from your total contribution margin to your to subcontractor. Then that's a maximum price you can pay to the subcontractor. So here you see the more structured solutions or answers for question 12. Increase the price to the subcontractor corresponds to decrease the contribution margin. So the allowable decrease for the contribution margin is actually 2. That means if you just give this 2 to your subcontractor, you can still keep your current production plan. That means you should actually pay maximum 102 kroner to your subcontractor.